our viewers, and welcome once again to Discovering Wellness. Such a pleasure to have you guys back. And today is a very special episode, so stay in there. What makes it special? Well, today I'm joined by the founder of the Wellness Seekers Academy, co founder because there are other founders, but it was his brainchild, Ajay Mahajan, a man who thought of doing all this because he saw a lot of problems in the multitude of industries he's working with, from the governments to the army to the IT sector. So, with all of that going on, let me start with Ajay, bringing him up. Hi, Ajay, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Sandeep. Pleasure being here. Absolutely.
Well, Ajay, tell us what it is that goes on in the minds of people in all these industries, which you found is common and which affects their health and well-being.
Sandeep, before we get into the industry part of it, let's go back into what are all these industries really made up of, right?
Point.
They're all made up of people, right? People performing different jobs, different roles, different functions, day in and day out. I mean, I've been traveling around the country for the last about 22 years now, 23 years, and that's one thing realized right from 2000 onwards that whichever state you go down to, whichever age group you talk to, right, whichever industry you talk to, ultimately people are going through a lot of stress and anxiety. And unfortunate part of it is people don't really know what is causing that, right? And that's somehow which has been a thought which has been with me for a long, long, long time there since then. And of course, 23, 24 years back, I was a part of the industry myself, and the focus is more also on earning your bread and paying your bills and so on and so forth. So the focus was more on that rather than thinking about all these things in a deeper level.
Right.
And then somewhere about 7, 8 years back, I'd recently moved out I had done my stint at the World Bank, and I had been a part of the development sector for a long time. And that's when the thought of doing something about this entire stress and anxiety came into shape.
I love the way you put that so simply, but it's so powerful that people don't know what is causing their lack of well-being and their state of stress, and it's happening across people, across everywhere. And I think 8 years ago, people just about knew the W of wellness, nothing much more than that. So you practically pioneered the space. And I'd like you to go a little deeper because this is going to be one of those reference episodes for people who want to really know what Wellness Seekers Academy is about. Uh, you
Yeah.
know, what is it that you do with regard to the 8 dimensions, and what is it about measuring, which I don't think I've heard of anywhere before I started interacting with you.
The first is what are these 8 dimensions? Right. Now, these are 8 aspects to our own self, to every one of us, right? Which relate to different aspects of what we are really. It talks about how are we able to manage our emotions, our physical health and wellness, which everybody is aware of. We talk about relationships and how to effectively manage relationships. We talk about career. We talk about financial growth and well-being. We talk about personal growth and well-being. We talk about environmental well-being. And it's not such an offbeat subject. Huh? People think of environmental as environmental thinking about it, but no, it's an integral part of what we do and how we live every day. And
Which
then we, of
stresses
course,
so
have
many people. I mean, you don't have to be a Greta Thunberg to get stressed about it. It stresses people
absolutely,
in villages all the time, in
yeah,
industrial areas all the time.
not
It's a
only that,
vexed issue which we just haven't given enough importance to, and bringing that up into a dimension has far-reaching effect on the financial dimension, on the physical dimension, on the mental dimension.
absolutely. Let's look at how does it really affect us. I mean, the government is doing a lot of stuff about cleaning your coolers, cleaning everything else, so that there's no water deposits anywhere. Aren't we all worried about mosquitoes during summers?
Seriously.
Why does that happen? Because our environment, immediate environment is not clean, right? So let's forget about the larger picture. Let's look at what really affects us. And the last, of course, is the spiritual wellness, which has nothing to do about religion. It's what we all aspire for, yeah? Peace of mind. Right? So now, if you look at all of these 8 areas, Something you realize they're all connected with each other.
Yeah, I just
Right?
realized that while speaking with you. I mean, I'm sure viewers are just joining the dots as they get to understand these things. Go
Which is
on.
why we which is why we call them holistic wellness. Holistic basically means the interconnectedness of it. So,
Right.
at times, we were doing a workshop at one of the large public sector banks in the country on wellness itself. And somebody came across and said, look, I'm having a problem with my career. Can you help me? I mean, advise me on that. We started talking about it. And then when we were discussing this career, I said, what's wrong with the career front? He said, look, no, I know my job. I do my job very well. I know everything, but still I'm not able to grow in my career.
Mhm.
And then you realize here, somewhere down the line, it was not about his efficiency at work, but how he was dealing with people at work. So suddenly it's not career problem, it's a relationship problem, right?
Right.
And then we went well a bit deeper into it, and then you realize that's for the last 1 year. There was somebody in his family who was been pretty unwell, and that's affecting him emotionally. He's been kind of very, very emotionally unstable in the last year, almost about a year's time. So what we tend to look at in a single dimensional world of career and try and solve it over there cannot be resolved there. Because what is apprehended once at the first time might not be the reason for it. And that's where all our work really has been. And
I can
courtesy, my
I can see
sorry.
flashbulbs going off, Ajay, in our audience's mind. So
And the second
how do
part,
you measure this stuff? That was the other part about
yeah.
what's fascinating.
So the second part when you came across was the measurement part of it. See, as a part of my stint with various public sector projects and enterprises, one thing we realized was any long-term project or any long-term intervention that we are a part of, you cannot call it a success or failure unless you're able to measure the outcomes of it. Ultimately, well-being is happiness, right? Now, how do you measure happiness? So that was the first challenge. That's why, it took us a long time to come down to what we've created today. So we've created a toolkit where you, Sandeep, can assess yourself across these 8 parameters or 8 dimensions that we call them and get your own individual wellness scores.
Wow.
And these scores will put your wellness across the 3 zones of red, amber, green, whatever, right? So,
Right.
boss, my financial wellness is not that great. I need to do something on this. Or
Mm.
my personal growth and professional growth is not at the optimal level. It can be tweaked a bit more. I'm not somebody who's crazily into let's say physical wellness. My physical wellness score at about 50, 55, 60. I'm happy with that. I'm
Mhm.
okay with it, as long as the scores are not in the red zone. Right, red zone means boss, work on it, bring it up. As long as in the amber zone, you're all right, still okay. Strive and go onto the green zone if you can. Now, that's as far as individuals are concerned. Right. Now look at an organization. Again, going back, every enterprise is made of people. Right. Now, if you start mapping these individual scores and start creating a scorecards out of there, you start creating indexes for organizations across these 8 dimensions for locations. So my Bombay office is not doing that well, or my Gujarat office is doing phenomenally well in whichever area. Not only locations, you can go to job functions. My sales team should be great on relationships, but unka relationship score is about at 70%. How can I
Mm.
tweak that up? My R&D team, the relationship score is not that great, but the intellectual score is good. So that's what I really want from my R&D team, right? So then you start getting scores across locations, across job functions, across seniorities, across genders, across age groups. You're
And
getting
you can
qualified
be
data in
trending
there.
those things, I imagine.
Absolutely. Once you get this, then remember the good old L&D intervention that we have.
Right.
Need I say more? And then repeat these assessments. Keep monitoring it. Keep fine-tuning whatever interventions you're doing as far as the employee wellness is concerned. Right? Because now your L&D interventions are going to be more focused to where it is needed.
Right.
Also, you will come to know, boss, if I make this change this 20% of my parameters, I'll get 80% of effect. So you're focusing on where we can get the maximum amount of results with the least amount of effort going into it.
taking these concepts further, uh, you have been attempting to go beyond corporate interventions and public sector banks and those kind of organizations into developing indexes and into developing things for the young minds as well. Uh, what stage is that at, and how could viewers look at using this intellectual property for their benefit if they are in those sectors?
So we start, our whole work starts off with an academic program, which should be a part of any school and college curriculum. Program is called Thrive, which is
Mhm.
where we talk about, it's a 40-hour program. So, we used to have SUPW period, socially useful productive work period, 1 hour every week. So
Good
we
on
said
it.
every school and every institution should have 1 hour wellness period every week. Let kids understand what is life all about, what are these different areas about their personalities all about, right? As early as they can. And then they take their own time to master it. So we start with the schools. They have the online courses, colleges, any training institution. In fact, we talk about every training institution in the country should also offer. Some people do soft skills training, they do technology training. Let wellness be a part of the training programs itself, because that's one thing which affects everyone, right? So we start with that. We have online courses. We can log in and do the courses for individuals. We work with organizations where we have corporate wellness programs. We also work with the states where we have a state wellness index which can be created,
Yeah,
right?
that
Which
that's
again talks
that's
about,
something revolutionary again. I mean, it's almost the equivalent of the Bhutan's GNH
yeah,
kind of
absolutely,
concept.
absolutely. And I mean, happiness index, why not? There are two parts to it. One is, of course, the 8 dimensions which affect an individual, and then there's social determinants, access to healthcare, access to communication, access to basic infrastructure, which are states delivered something. So you merge the two across, you marry the two, and you create a social wellness index also for a state. And can you imagine if you can start, every state in the country can have its own social index, and you start comparing those as a barometer for people's happiness within the state. So these are the areas that we're working on.
No, actually, you've set out to do something about the substrate level activity of why people get stressed, and that's panned out into taking it from a few dimensions, which are at the school level, to more, and you're preparing the kids for being future ready, and then all eight of them need that balance for the work life balance, so to say. It's really important to um, put this particular episode, spin this particular episode in
Yeah.
our context, because then we are able to show our viewers what Wellness Seekers Academy means not only to the corporate sector but to schools and to the state governments as well, and how the whole concept of wellness. I was going to say game, and I think I should say game because it is a game. Life is not so serious, and that's why
Yes.
life is not so stressful. But all said and done, the Wellness Seekers Academy is looking at this holistic, dimensional play of wellness. And thanks, Ajay, for coming on this episode. Please drop into our library and check out learnings from corporate wellness seekers on various aspects of what's working now, what's not working, and what they would love to see working as we go along. So, see you every Tuesday afternoon, India time, and thanks for watching.